Hey guys, so today I am going to be doing a video from my bathtub. This is my favorite part of my house. I'm so happy it's Sunday night. I got myself a nice bottle of Prosecco. Look at me, I'm gonna pour it like a fancy person. Oh yeah, ooh, okay, we're gonna party tonight, I guess. This is fun. I know, I can already predict like how many shitty comments I'm gonna get about like, oh my god, she's half naked, she's fully naked in a bathtub, and she acts like she's such a prude. Well, you know what? The next time you're naked in a bathtub, I'm gonna say the same thing to you. This is natural, okay? Everyone takes baths. It's not a big fucking deal. Today, I'm going to be doing a video, how to buy a home. The home buying process, what it was like for me, and just answering your guys' questions. I asked y'all on Instagram to ask me some questions about the home buying experience. Before I get into the questions, I'm going to tell you guys what the process of buying a home was like for me. So I've always lived in apartments. I've lived in so many different apartments. Oh my gosh, I lived in Los Angeles. I lived in two different New York City, three different New York City apartments. I've lived in 2 different apartments in Chelsea, Connecticut. I have lived in, where else? Okay, that's it. Oh, and in Czech Republic, I had an apartment for 3 months. So like, I've lived in a lot of different apartments, and honestly, I never thought that home ownership would come so quickly to me, but I have been planning on eventually settling down and buying a house and buying property for the past 2 years. And I think that if you are considering buying a home anytime in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you should start planning now, because buying a home isn't something that everyone is just prepared to do at the drop of a hat, unless you're really rich. And if that's the case, congratulations. And I think that home ownership is something that shouldn't be taken lightly, and I'll explain more later why. So I was living in an apartment. As you guys might know, I was living in Yonkers. I had moved to Yonkers last summer, and I was really looking forward to it because I wanted to be closer to the city, but I didn't want to be in the city. And I had rented a really beautiful apartment right on the line of Hastings on Hudson. I was right on the Hudson River. I had the views of the Palisades, and it was unbelievable. It was so nice, but it was fairly overpriced because it was a new apartment building. I was one of like the first tenants to live in that particular apartment. I wanted to be closer to the city, but I wanted to have more space because I was sick of living in a claustrophobic apartment in Manhattan, and I needed more space for my dogs because, you know, when I had Frank, apartment living was a little bit easier, but once I adopted Milo, who turned out to be gigantic and just a ball full of energy, I realized that I would need to live somewhere that would be able to accommodate him. So Yonkers ended up being like that happy medium between living in the suburbs but also still having a little bit of that city vibe, because I would just get in my car and it'd be like a 35-40 minute drive to Brooklyn or the Upper East Side or the Upper West Side to meet up with my friends. So it was really nice. But then, you know, eventually I got really sick of paying $3,300 a month for an apartment, and I wasn't building any equity. Then COVID hit. Even with the larger apartment and the parks and amenities nearby, it still just was not enough for my dogs. And I was like, okay, I need a yard for my dogs. Like, I owe it to them. And I noticed that I would go to Connecticut to visit my parents on the weekends, and my dogs were so happy there. They were so happy to have a yard and like a porch to sit out on. And it really got the gears going in my head where I was like, I really want to buy a house soon. And not as soon as it ended up happening. Ultimately, COVID and several other factors kind of expedited the home buying process. I got actually very lucky. This home was about to come on the market, and my mom notified me because she knew the people that were listing the house, and I was able to get in an early offer, and I was able to get approved and all that, and everything kind of like fell into place. It all really worked out perfectly, and it's crazy. It really felt like fate. It felt like the universe like putting these things into motion. So I will tell you guys what the home buying process has been like for me by answering some of these questions. First question is, where do you start? I'm looking but don't even know where to begin. So the first place you should always start is by reaching out to a real estate agent. Find somebody that's reputable, honest, is somebody that you can trust and that's going to work for you, not just work for themselves and their commission. I've heard so many horror stories of people who have just picked really terrible agents, and it has made the home buying experience so difficult for them. Obviously, I was lucky because my mother was my real estate agent, so she obviously had my best interest at heart. And of course, you know, people have to make their money, but you still want somebody that's got integrity and isn't gonna sell you a house that they know is not a great home. You know, like I've heard stories of real estate agents selling a home that they knew had water damage or had problems and just like did not disclose that with the buyer. So definitely find a great agent who's reputable, who's hardworking, and reach out to them. The first step is going to be just to let them know what your budget is, where you're looking, and what's important to you in finding a home. And then they will go on to the multiple listing service. They will find a bunch of listings that meet your criteria, and they will send you all of those listings, and then you'll probably go ahead and schedule some showings, go and look at them, and from that point on, you put in an offer. You'll also have to get approved for a mortgage. Sometimes like having a pre-approval helps, but yeah, that is the first step. Know what you want. Next is from April, were there previous owners to your home? So there were previous owners who rented it while they were building their home. So this has been previously lived in, but it is a fairly new home. It was built in 2018. So, you know, it's still got that nice, fresh and clean vibe. Fortis Volatante. I'm sorry, I'm messing that up so bad. What was the most difficult part about the process? I think the most difficult part of the home buying process is getting a mortgage, usually. And then also just like finding a home that you love. Right now, I think with the COVID situation, a lot of New Yorkers are moving to upstate New York or Connecticut. And so the market is pretty dry because everything's being bought up. It can be hard in a market that is not saturated, or, you know, depending on like what the market's like, that might be the hardest part, is finding a home. And also nowadays, guidelines for getting approved for a mortgage are a little bit more strict because of coronavirus. So for example, I think they bumped up the credit requirement to like 680. So, you know, before, people with not the greatest credit were able to get approved for a mortgage. Now it's a little bit more difficult. I don't think this is permanent. I think it's for the time being because the state of the world is so uncertain right now. But, you know, yeah, it is a little bit more of a difficult time right now to buy a home. But, you know, for me, I got really, really lucky. Next is from Nikki Kocher. Why such a big house for one person? So I have a pretty big family in Czech Republic. They are going to come and stay for periods of time. I know my grandmother sometimes will come for 3 months and stay with us, so I definitely want to have room for her. My mom, she lives 30 minutes away, and I know she's probably going to spend like 2-3 nights here. And I work from home. I film here, and I have the 2 dogs. I mean, it is a little bit too big for one person. I will not deny that, but I like all the space, you know, and it's not like extravagant. S Ruby 25, how long did the process take to buy a house? So the home buying process can take anywhere from 30 to 90 days. Usually my process took about 60 days. Next is from Roal V. Did you get any special programs? Example, first time buyer. I did not get any special programs, but I know that they're available for you guys. And I know that there's special kinds of loans. You can get like a VA loan if you're a veteran or in the military. You can also get an FHA loan, which is a loan that only requires a down payment of, I believe it's between 3.5 to 5%, which is really great. I mean, when you compare it to what I put down on this house, which was 20%. So, you know, there are special programs, but they like vary depending on which county you're in, where you're located. Next is from Amanda Brown. How much money should you have saved before buying a home? Anywhere between 10 to 20,000. 10,000 for the down payment, and then another $8,000 to $10,000 for closing costs. And which brings me to my next question, and that is from Two Femme Gems. How insane are closing costs in Connecticut? Here in Maryland, they're so high. So yes, closing costs in Connecticut are really high because taxes are really high in Connecticut. I feel that Maryland is probably, you know, similar to Connecticut as far as closing costs go. And you guys might be wondering what closing costs are, because you think, oh, okay, I'm buying a house, I'm putting down a deposit, I'm putting down a down payment that ranges anywhere from 3.5 to 20%, or maybe even more if you want to put more down. But but there's also closing costs, and closing costs are higher in some states, and basically it's something that's determined by how much taxes are and what bank fees are. So you got to contact your mortgage officer and lawyer to know those details, and depending on the price of the house, it can be from anywhere from $8,000 to $30,000. So like the more expensive your house is, the higher the closing costs are going to be. So closing costs are, you know, basically like lawyer fees. You're also going to be paying for like an inspection fee on the house. So it's all of these like little hidden things. I had no idea what closing costs were before I started buying a house, and then I found out and I was like, oh, okay, so I have to pay even more money than I thought. Okay, great. So yeah, I guess that's like one of the things about buying a house is like, you think you have a number in your head of how much money you're spending, and just, you know, just double that, because that's how much you're gonna end up spending between like everything. Next is from Hales Huser. Was it easy to decorate? I've owned my home for 5 years and I'm always redecorating. I love something, or I'll love a certain style for like 3 months and then I'll get sick of it, because I'll see something else online that I fall in love with that I like more, and all of a sudden I'm like now into that and I hate what I have. So right now I'm currently loving the mid-century modern rustic modern farmhouse look, but I know it's gonna change soon, so I'm not, you know, holding my breath. I decorate very quickly. I'm very impulsive, and you know, if I want something, I want it now. And like, I bought all of my furniture like pretty much like right away. Next is from Minnie Love. What percent did you put down? Did you start with a number in mind? I did not know how much I was going to put down until I was told how much I would have to put down. And then I was kind of like, okay, well, there's no choice. This is how much I have to put down. I had to put down 20%, and that was a lot. I cried giving that check over to my lawyer. It was the most money I've ever spent in my entire life. But it's worth it because you're building equity. It's not like you're just throwing that money into the air and it's disappearing like rent does. You're buying a house, it's yours. Stamping train wreck. What do you have to say to people who say you didn't work hard to get your car and house? People will always try to like invalidate. Is my tub haunted? People always will try to invalidate my achievements. Like, they'll make fun of the way I make my money online. People think that like I come from wealth or something, which is not true. The point is like, I have found a means of income that works for me and that I enjoy and that's lucrative and allows me to work from the comfort of my own home. And whether people like it or not, whether people accept it or not, whether people want to think I worked hard for it or didn't, it doesn't make a difference, because like, it's mine and I own it and I enjoy it and I appreciate it. I guess I can look at a lot of people in this world and say like, they don't deserve the things that they have, like Kim Kardashian, that fucking bitch. I was friends with some people who were very wealthy and had everything handed to them and always had nice things. But I think it's important to just be happy for everybody. I do think that people have certain advantages in life. Some people get lucky. Some people work really, really hard to achieve great things, and some people just have great things fall into their lap. Mind your own, you know? As long as you're happy with what you have. I generally feel the people that judge others for what they have or whether or not they worked hard for it are people who are not happy with what they have. I think I've worked hard, but some people might disagree. It's really subjective. All I know is that I'm happy with what I have, and I do feel blessed and I feel lucky, and I always try to give back. Next question is from Mindy Hertzen. Did you change your air filter yet? So this is one of the things that people don't realize when they buy a house, is that it's not just like buying furniture and keeping the place clean. It's also a lot of maintenance. You know, every 2 years you need to get your septic tank pumped if you have a septic tank. I have an air filter in my basement that I have to get replaced every 3 months. Like, there are so many little things that you actually need like a checklist so you don't forget, because it's very easy to forget and let your house just start falling apart, and by that point it's too late. And yeah, it's just a lot of maintenance. The maintenance costs for a home are high, especially if you do get a bigger home. So yeah, I bought a home. I live here now. I'm sitting in my bathtub. I'm drinking Prosecco. I'm enjoying myself. I'm happy. I feel good. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it. Click the thumbs up button, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.